All right, I think we are live. Good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are from. My name is Jenna Sikernik. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm an assistant director of undergraduate admission at Northwestern. A little bit more about me, since we're going to be spending the next hour-ish together. I'm originally from just outside of Boston, Massachusetts. That's why I talk so quickly. Maybe say where you're from in the chat. That would be really cool. We always love to see where everyone watches from. It's always really fun. Another fun fact about me, I'm actually a graduate school alum of Northwestern. I received my master's degree in 2018 from School of Education and Social Policy. So I'm very excited to share my Purple Pride with all of y'all today. And lucky enough, you don't just get me, but you also get Patrick, who's also joining us today. Patrick, want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you so much, Jenna. Hi, everyone. My name is Patrick. I am a current senior at Northwestern from Mount Prospect, Illinois, just a suburb outside of Chicago. Here at Northwestern, I'm studying radio, television, and film in the School of Communication, along with economics in Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences. On campus, I'm also the film manager for Studio 22, which is Northwestern's largest film board that helps students make films through the distribution of grants, while educating them on how filmmaking goes through technical workshops and guest speakers. Living so close to Evanston for a majority of my life, I've had the opportunity to visit campus multiple times, even prior to being at the exact info session in which you are today. But I would love to tell you why Northwestern was my top choice and why it continues to remain that 4 years into the future.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Patrick. So how today is going to work is that Patrick and I are going to talk for the next 30-ish, 45 minutes or so. And at the end, we'll have some time for some of y'all's questions. If you could please wait to maybe hold on to those questions towards the end of our info session, that would be awesome. But I totally understand if you come into your brain, you just want to write it down right away. I'm somebody who has to write everything down. Otherwise, I forget. My mom makes fun of me for writing on my hand all the time. So totally get it. But I think it's always great to kind of start with the basics of the university. So with Northwestern, let's see if the slideshow wants to work. Here we go. Basics. Northwestern's 8,000 undergraduate students come to our campus, which is located on the traditional lands of the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, and Odawa peoples, and what is now referred to as the city of Evanston, Illinois. Evanston is the first suburb north of Chicago. We're about 3 miles from city limits, about 11 miles from downtown, the Magnificent Mile area, if anybody's familiar with the area. A location is great for so many reasons. First is that you really have all of the resources at your disposal in Evanston and in our Chicago campus. So we actually have 2 graduate schools located in downtown Chicago, our medical school and our law school. So as an undergraduate student at Northwestern, all your classes are going to be in Evanston. But let's say you have an awesome internship downtown or a research position, or you just want to get to like some restaurants or a concert for free. It's really great. You hop on our inter-campus shuttle. About 45 minutes later, you are in downtown Chicago. The other way to get to Chicago really easily from our Evanston campus is the CTA or the L. The L is, it stands for elevated train. I should always clarify that. The L is relatively inexpensive. For less than $3, you can hop on a train in Evanston. Each line is a different color. We have the purple line in Evanston. Hopefully you can figure out why. We love purple at Northwestern. And get to Chicago's 80+ unique neighborhoods in both airports. So again, really accessible to get to the city when you want to. But the great thing about Northwestern is that you have a true best of both worlds situation. So on our campus in Evanston, you have that true residential feeling. It feels like you're really on a college campus because you are. And I know for me and many other students, when they're looking at colleges, really wanted to feel like you're part of a smaller community. You definitely feel that when you're on our Evanston campus. But also you have one of the biggest cities in the world right in your backyard. There's so much to do in Chicago. There's always something to do in Evanston. There's so much to do there. No matter what it is you're interested in, I can almost guarantee you'll never be bored as a Northwestern student. Patrick, can you kind of tell us more about how you've been able to take advantage of our location and all that goes on in Evanston, all that goes on in Chicago?
Sure, definitely. I think that there's many opportunities for students to explore both Evanston and Chicago and what this massive city has to offer. And just one thing that I can really think of off the top of my head is a lot of people who take art history courses, which are some of the most famous ones in Northwestern, those classes have an opportunity to take at least one trip throughout the quarter to the Art Institute of Chicago. And the museum itself is massive, but houses some of the most famous artwork by Picasso, Monet, Van Gogh, just to name a few. But if you're looking for something, say a little bit more casual, Chicago itself is one of the best food cities in the world. And whether that's, I've had the chance to hop down and just go to a great restaurant and get some food, or really just to get a bite to eat, say over the weekend, if I'm looking to escape Evanston for a little bit. I recommend Beacon Donuts if you're ever visiting. It went viral on TikTok last summer, but it is this small donut shop within an alleyway in Lincoln Park. And it is some of the best donuts that I've ever had in my life. And they're vegan, so it only makes things better.
I was gonna say, I think they're vegan, so like it's a healthy donut, I'm pretty sure. Like I think that's how I'm no expert, I think that's how that works. Thank you, Patrick, for sharing more about your experiences in Evanston and Chicago. So it's another great thing about our campus, besides our location, is the people that you'll meet at Northwestern. Our students come from all 50 states, over 95 different countries. And it's just one of many ways our students make our campus a diverse place to be. Our students are diverse geographically, as you can see, also racially, socioeconomically, religiously, politically, and more. I think it's really important when you're looking at colleges to not only look at obviously who's teaching you in the classroom, but who surrounds you in the classroom. At Northwestern and our admissions office, we're committed to making our class as diverse and as equitable as possible. And I'm always really proud to work for an institution that really values these things. And a great thing about your classmates is that all their different experiences, you really get to learn from them. And that's because of our small discussion-based courses. We have a 6-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So really get to know your peers and professors. And Patrick will tell us more about our classes and professors in a little bit, so I don't want to spoil anything. But the great thing is, no matter what you decide to study at Northwestern, you'll be taking a lot of classes. And that's because of a unique academic structure known as the quarter system. So how it works is instead of having 2 semesters a year, we have 4 quarters a year: fall, winter, spring, and summer, with the main academic year occurring in the fall, winter, and spring quarters. So don't worry, you'll still have a summer break. So if you want to spend your summer break hanging out in Lakeville, like our friends pictured in this picture, or going back home with your friends and family, totally doable. A lot of students will use that summer quarter for what we call experiential learning. So these are opportunities like internships and research, which we'll definitely talk about later. Some students will choose to take 1 or 2 classes over summer quarter, but a majority of Northwestern students will never take a class the summer quarter and will still graduate on time. As you can see, most students take about 12 classes per year, and you may be doing that quick math in your head. And yes, it is more than you would take at a traditional semester-based institution. And you may be wondering, Jenna, why would I want to take more classes? First of all, great question. Second of all, the amount of classes you take really allows you to pursue all of your academic interests and just take classes that just sound kind of fun if there's no direct connection to your major. And how we're able to do that and offer that with our students is our 6 schools here at Northwestern. So we're one Northwestern, but home to 6 different colleges. The largest being the Weinberg College of Arts and Sciences, which is home to about half of our student body. Our second largest is the Mccormick School of Engineering. I think what really sets Mccormick apart is a unique whole brain approach to bring to engineering. So no matter what you want to do when you graduate from Mccormick, you're graduating as a creative problem solver, ready to tackle on any issues you may encounter. Our School of Communication is great. It's home to popular majors like theater and radio, television, and film, among others. Our Mcgill School of Journalism wait, I gotta give you the full name. The Mcgill School of Journalism, Media, and Integrated Marketing Communications. There it is. It's important that I say the full name because it's a fun fact that their school, the longest name with the fewest number of majors, and that's one, and it's journalism, but they do it really, really well. Our Beanan School of Music is great because it's conservatory style. So what that means is a student at Beanan, you still have access to amazing resources and professors and performances like you would at a traditional conservatory, but not the heavy competition that's found at many conservatories, and of course, access to an amazing liberal arts curriculum we value at Northwestern. And last, and certainly not least, is our School of Education and Social Policy, commonly referred to as CESP on campus. We like to say CESP is the smallest but mightiest school. I'm not just saying that because I'm an alumna. It's because it's true. So about 50 incoming students come into CESP every year. By the time those students are getting ready to graduate, the number goes to about 150 students. I think that right there is just a great example of the flexibility you will find throughout Northwestern. Although in this picture looks like everything's kind of off in its own world, that is by no means the case in actuality. We really encourage our students to follow their interests and their passions. So by the time they're getting ready to graduate, they'll have taken classes in 4, 5, sometimes even all 6 schools, and that's something we love to see. I know, Patrick, you've had your own experience across the 6 schools. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Definitely. So through my experiences in my almost 4 years at Northwestern, I can definitely attest to the flexibility and opportunities that have been provided to me through our school's curriculum. So as I mentioned before, I came in as I am now a radio, television, and film and economics student, but I actually came in as a biomedical engineering student going on the pre-med track in Mccormick School of Engineering. But I slowly came to realize after my first quarter that I wasn't really as interested in medicine as I thought I would be. And so from then I began searching for a new major. And so I took that time period to take classes across Northwestern's 6 schools. And whether that was a law and the American economy class in Weinberg, or a screenwriting course in the School of Communication, or a journalism course in Mcgill, Northwestern really offered me the opportunity to explore what classes interested me the most, so I could find the right major fit and then make sure that for these next couple of years, I was studying something I actually was interested in. My story, however, might be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, since I'm nearing the end of my college career, sadly, and you're only at the beginning of yours. So the journey of every student at Northwestern is going to be completely different. And many students come in knowing exactly what they want to do for the rest of the time they're here. And so one of my best friends, for example, Allie, she came in as a theater major with a musical theater certificate and finished the same way. And she really spent the years here auditioning and performing in shows across Northwestern's campus. So whether that was the WAMU show or the Dolphin show, which are respectively the largest student written and student produced musicals in the country. And now she's moved off to LA and she's pursuing a career in acting. But I'm sure some of you are still trying to determine what you would like to study. So as an example, my friend Courtney came into Northwestern undecided, and with 50% of our first years applying with that major, it's actually the most popular amongst our applicants. And she took her freshman year to find what majors and career interests she had by taking introductory courses in subjects such as econ, chemistry, English, really just to name a few. And after using that first year to determine what interested her the most, in the classroom, she came in to her second year pursuing psychology at Northwestern and in Weinberg. And now she is working in research labs focusing on developmental psychology, working with professors to have her studies published, and is applying to graduate school to pursue a PhD in the field. And just like many students, she couldn't have found this right major fit really without the assistance from the great faculty and the professors that we have on campus. So whenever you declare a major in any of our schools, you are assigned an advisor in that school. So because I am both in the School of Communication and Weinberg, I have 2 academic advisors, one for each school. And they assist me with anything ranging from internships and extracurricular activities to classes and degree progress. And in the classroom, you do have the ability to also have one-on-one time with the professor with our low 6-to-1 student to faculty ratio. And in fact, 80% of our classes have fewer than 20 students enrolled. And even in these larger lecture halls, you'll have a weekly discussion section attached so that you can get a deeper dive into whatever you learned during lecture that week. And with 100% of our faculty required to host their own office hours, you can always have access to chat with your professor. And these office hours are also a great way not to only perform better in your classes to say if you're struggling, but they also allow for you to find another mentor on campus and someone who could maybe allow for you to better navigate Northwestern's academic structure. And this academic structure is built to give you the time to figure out what it is that you're really passionate about, what you want to explore, and what you think you might want to pursue after Northwestern. And beyond that, the quarter system gives you enough time to take that sort of deep dive into a liberal arts education and explore what you would like. And at Northwestern, you'll take classes that fall into 3 buckets. These are major requirements, distribution requirements, and electives. And major requirements are 11 to 17 classes out of the typical 48 that you will take, and they will be within your major department in your home school. And then you also have distribution requirements, and this is a liberal arts education. That being said, there isn't going to be one class that every student takes at Northwestern, but we are going to have a broad academic theme like STEM or humanities that involve about 3 to 5 classes, but give you, say, 30 to 50 to choose from. And the last bucket is going to be electives. This is your chance to really explore anything that you have an interest in or something completely new that you haven't been studying. So for example, you can take a class on the Milky Way galaxy where you conduct experiments, learn about the galaxy, stars, and black holes, or you can take something like art of the storytelling where students just really share stories about their lives and learn about each other. And so with the ability to take so many classes, you are still left with room to explore other areas, including research and study abroad. So Northwestern allocates about $3 million annually towards undergraduate research. And the funds are typically distributed through grants, travel grants, or research assistant positions in our labs. However, the types of research that you can do and where you can find it really seems never endless. So my friend who is studying RTVF and in the School of Communication as well, she spent her summer researching how adult cancer survivors are affected post-treatment for a script that she was writing. And she then went on to pitch the script to the Multicultural Filmmakers Collective, which is another film board on campus that focuses on implementing diversity in the RTVF department. She went on to pitch it and she received a grant. And my friend Sophie, on the other hand, conducted lab research that focused on post-traumatic stress disorder. And the lab partnered with the United States Air Force for human trials, and they examined biological indicators that an individual could be more prone to PTSD. She's grown a lot with her lab, and then she went on to present at the largest neuroscience conference in the world, and is now completing Northwestern's neuroscience PhD program after graduation. And many students even decide to take their research outside of Northwestern's campus and partake in Northwestern's extensive study abroad program. So Northwestern has 3 study abroad offices that you can choose from that give you 150 programs to choose from. About 1/3 of our students study abroad during their time here. And for any programs that are affiliated with NU, you get course credit back here in Evanston. And financial aid does travel with you, so financial burden should not be the reason as to why you choose to not study in a different country. My friend Mary, for example, she's studying economics and learning and organizational change with a minor in global health, and she knew that she wanted to go into the business side of healthcare. So during her junior fall, she decided to go to Geneva, Switzerland to further understand the global spread of HIV and AIDS. And learning both inside the classroom and then conducting research outside of it with the International AIDS Society, her abroad experience was really able to reaffirm her passion for this career and show her what specific things excited her about the industry. And these are not the only ways to pursue experiential learning. Innovation centers are another way to do so. And these innovation centers are available to students in all of our schools and majors and are designed to help people explore innovation and entrepreneurship. So for example, Studio 22, as I mentioned before, distributes over $15,000 annually to student filmmakers to fund their on-campus productions. And through these grants, students have been able to explore their passion for filmmaking while learning how to write, direct, and produce short films and episodes before they even step foot into the entertainment industry. And additionally, the board hosts workshops teaching students how to edit scripts and improve their stories, how to maybe use specific equipment, or even how to light a film, while also bringing in guest speakers and panelists to, educate people about their time in the industry and offer advice to students who have the desire to pursue something similar. So just last year, we had Boots Riley, the director of Sorry to Bother You, come and speak to us, and we've had alumni for companies such as HBO, Sony Entertainment, and FX, just to name a few. Not to mention, students are also able to learn more about their desired career path through the countless opportunities for internships and pre-professional experiences. So over 70% of our students have reported having at least one internship as an undergraduate. And in my time here, I've been able to take on 3. My first was at Ally Global Marketing through our Chicago Field Studies program, which assists students in getting internships downtown throughout multiple industries at companies such as Pepsi, Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley. And then they receive course credit through these internships by attending classes at Northwestern that focus on the business world. I landed my next internship primarily with the help of Northwestern Career Advancement, which is a resource on campus that provides students with resume and cover letter building workshops, mock interviews, and career fair preparation. And with their help, I was able to intern in New York a couple summers ago as a sales and product marketing intern at Intersection, a smart cities technology company. And so then through my experiences there, I learned more about product management, operations roles, tech in general. And so using this newfound interest, I was able to land an internship at Hulu in New York last summer, and I'll actually be returning to the company come next fall as a campaign coordinator. Other ways that really students gain internship experience can actually be through their curriculum. So for example, the journalism residency in Mcgill is a program that has journalism majors spend a quarter working for a media and publication company really anywhere in the world. So throughout my through the JR, my friend Leanna spent her winter quarter working at LinkedIn in New York, but I also have known of people who have gone to Facebook and Instagram working at New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, really wherever you would like. And in terms of unpaid internships, Northwestern offers multiple ways to assist students. So SIGP, which is our summer internship grant program, offers funds to students in unpaid programs to make sure that they are able to cover housing and food costs, while also guaranteeing that students are choosing internships based on their interests. And these recent graduates end up at a variety of respected organizations around the world, which Jenna will tell you about next.
Thank you so much, Patrick. Yes, I know a lot of times you're going to colleges and you're looking things up and you go, wow, these are some really famous alumni, which we're definitely going to do in the next slide. We love bragging about the Purple Mafia, which we like to call Northwestern alumni. You may be wondering, where can I end up right after I graduate? And that's a really good and important question to ask. I think a variety of organizations that you see up here kind of show the different paths all of our Northwestern students take. The really cool thing is being in this office, I get to work with tons of great current Northwestern students like Patrick, who are nearing the time to end Northwestern, but I also get to see all the great places they end up. So whether it's Andrew, who was a theater major, is now working at CAA, which is an entertainment agency out in Los Angeles. Whether it was Matt, who was an engineering major, who had a great internship at Tesla and turned that into a full-time position, whether it's Lindsay, who was a journalism major and took her time, the experiences she had through her journal residency, and brought it to ESPN in Connecticut, where she still is today. I could go on and on about all the great things our alumni, both recent and maybe not so recent, are doing. I think the really important point to take away from this is that no matter what you want to do, your Northwestern degree is going to open up so many doors for you. And I think some of our well-known alumni further really illustrate that point. So Northwestern alumni, you kind of see on your TV all the time, whether it's Seth Meyers and Stephen Colbert or Meghan Markle or Michael Wilbon. But we also have some alumni you may not be so familiar with, but are still definitely making important changes and leaders in their field. So for example, Rosalind M. Brock, who is the youngest ever chairman of the board of directors for the NAACP, she also got her start here at Northwestern. So the great thing is that Wildcats love helping out other Wildcats. So whether you're first coming out of college and you're trying for that first job, or maybe it's a couple years later, you're trying to shift industries, your Northwestern connections will really be with you for life, which is awesome. So even though Northwestern is for life, the experience on our campus lasts about 4 years. And throughout those 4 years, you really have the chance to build your own sense of community. And this sense of community can begin with where you put your head to sleep at night. And Patrick can tell us more about our community on campus.
Yes, I love starting off with housing just because that was probably the most exciting thing for me, was to live on my own for the first time. So all students live on campus for at least 2 years at Northwestern. And with over 26 campus residences, you can choose from multiple options, including residential colleges, which house students with similar interests. So I lived in Ayers College of Commerce and Industry my freshman year, which has students who are primarily interested in business, but you can also choose to live in residential halls, which give you a more standard dorm experience. And then these buildings are also typically grouped into areas that host events for all students within that area, so you can meet people outside of your building. However, besides your living space, you have many opportunities to build your community here on campus through our countless traditions that we have. So your first community actually starts from the minute you get on campus. Your first week here, you'll be spending participating in Wildcat Welcome, our week-long orientation program for first-year students. And so for Wildcat Welcome, you'll be grouped with people typically in the same major as you, but then you'll also be assigned a peer advisor who is an upperclassman that will guide you through getting to know the campus, registering for your first classes, and really just getting to exposed to any and all student organizations that we have here. But besides Wildcat Welcome, Northwestern has many traditions, including Dillo Day, which happens to be my favorite. And it's the largest student-produced music festival in the country. The festival brings in major artists like Daya, Walk the Moon, Chance the Rapper, and happens at the end of every spring quarter to celebrate the end of the year. And as you go through your years here, your community is only going to continue to grow. And one way that many students find their group on campus is through our student organizations and the collaborative campus culture that we have here. So here at Northwestern, we understand that every single story and journey of a student is going to be unique. There's really no one way of successfully going about college, and that's demonstrated by our entire student body. So much is going on around campus at all times, and you are able to meet so many different people from a variety of backgrounds. So Northwestern has over 500 student organizations to choose from, offering students so many ways to explore their interests and gain leadership experience before they go into the professional world. So for example, I'm the senior vice president for Delta Sigma Pi, a professional business fraternity that mainly focuses on preparing and assisting members in building their professional network and applying for jobs in the business world. But we also have other groups that are related to completely different things. So we have A&O, which produces multiple speaker series, concerts, and film screenings throughout the year. So just last year, we had John Mulaney come in, who's one of my favorite comedians, but we also had Issa Rae, who's a producer and actress on Insecure, one of my favorite shows on HBO. So really, you can see the opportunities are just truly endless. And I promise that during your time here, you'll be able to find a group that fits your interests perfectly. But obviously, in order for you to become a part of the Northwestern community, you will have to apply. So Jenna is going to take you through our application process and financial aid.
That is the perfect transition, Patrick. Thank you so much. So yes, this now we're going to take the next probably 10-ish minutes to talk about admissions and financial aid, and then hopefully we'll get to some of y'all's questions. So I think it's really important before we kind of go into the details about applying Northwestern is to kind of define two terms you may hear a lot. So one is holistic admission. So we use holistic admissions at Northwestern. And what that means is we take a look at you as a whole person. So we're not looking at just your grades or just your test scores. We're looking at, qualitative information as well, right? What kind of community member are you? What are you involved in after school? What do your teachers and other adults in your community have to say about you? How are you telling your own story through your essay, right? So we're definitely really look at the holistic approach when we take a look at all of our applicants. And then of course, another thing that we like to do when we look at applications is consider context. So there's a lot of context that's going on right now, for example. For example, you may not be able to take a test like an SAT or an ACT. We'll talk about that because of the impact of COVID-19. Again, the more information you give us, and again, I'll get to this, the more context you give us, the better sense we get of who you are as a full person. But now that we have those terms defined, let's talk about applying to Northwestern. So you can apply using the common application or the coalition application. Please use whatever you're comfortable with or whatever your school uses. No need to send us both because they're the same thing. We have 2 deadlines. Your first application deadline Northwestern is November 1. That's our early decision deadline. Usually early decision to Northwestern if we are your #1 choice school. So your closet's already purple and white, the fight songs, your ringtone, maybe you have like a cutout of the Wildcat somewhere in your house, right? Whatever it is, that's great. We love to see that. I say that specifically for early decision because when you apply ED to Northwestern, you, a parent or guardian, and a guidance counselor will all sign a document that states, if I'm accepted to Northwestern via early decision, I will be attending Northwestern University. I'll rescind all other college applications. If me just saying that right now made your palms sweat more than normal, you're just like not quite sold on Northwestern yet, all good. That's why we have regular decision. Our regular decision deadline is January 3rd. If you apply regular decision, you can apply to as many schools as you want, and you'll hear from us about mid-March, early April. No, you'll hear from us by April 1st. I should clarify that. There may be some people tuning in who applied regular decision this year. And I just want to let you know if you're watching, decisions come out next Friday. That's definitely been posted on our social media and stuff. So just a little bit longer. I know you can do it. You got this. So what are we looking for when you submit your application? One of the first things we'll look at is your high school transcript. So back to that context piece, right? Everyone in our office gets to work with a different area of the country or the world and really get to know the schools and students in our area. So we'll know that your high school has AP or IB classes or just honors classes, or maybe your school doesn't do grades at all, right? We get to know your school and we'll see that you're taking the most rigorous courses available to you at your school and you're succeeding in those courses. If you have a friend that goes to school maybe across the street or across the country, it can be really easy to want to compare yourself, right? Just know that we're not doing that. Like I don't compare my students from North Carolina to my students from Westchester County, New York, because I know it's apples and oranges, right? Just focus on doing the best that's available to you at your school. This is normally when I talk about test scores. So again, back to that context piece. This past year, due to the impact of COVID-19, we decided to go test optional for the first time ever. And we will continue to be test optional for next year. So if you're applying to be in the class of 2026, you do not have to submit an SAT or an ACT test score for your application to be considered complete. So what does this mean? It means that if you were able to take a test score sometime between whenever you submit your application, and you think that test score is a great reflection of your abilities as a student, awesome, submit it if you would like to. However, you're still living in a global pandemic. And so many of you may not be able to take a test, or maybe your previous test score isn't, you think, the best reflection of you as a student for whatever reason. You do not have to submit a test score. You're not at a disadvantage if you do not submit a test score. That's right. That makes sense. So again, the most important thing right now is that you feel safe and healthy. And so test score, you have one, great. If you don't, also great. Another thing we'll look at in your application are what we call letters of support or letters of recommendation. So we only require 2, one from a high school guidance counselor and one from a core subject teacher. So core subjects for us are math, science, English, social studies, and a world language. If you want to send us more than those 2 letters of rec, that's totally fine. Just really keep in mind who you're asking to send additional letters of rec, right? Are they helping paint a more complete picture of who you are as a full person? So maybe you have your math teacher and your English teacher to show you different sides of your brain. Maybe you have your math teacher and your supervisor at your job to show you in and out of the classroom. Totally up to you. Just know it truly is quality over quantity when it comes to letters of recommendation. There is no magic number of letters of recommendation that will get you into Northwestern. If it's just the 2 that we require and they do a great job, you think of summing you up as a person, fantastic. 2 is great. And finally, we'll take a look at your essays. So with the essays in Northwestern, we'll take a look at either your common application or your coalition application essay. With these, I always advise students to think about, make sure you're picking a prompt you can answer and you can answer clearly. When I'm done reading your essay, I shouldn't be wondering which prompt you picked to answer. So please, even if you make up your own, so keep that in mind. Also, we have one supplemental essay, and that is simply the question, why Northwestern? Since you're choosing to take the time to hang out with me and Patrick today, I want to thank you by giving you some advice on the why Northwestern essay. The first is to be as honest and specific as possible. So each one of you watching today has different reasons why to come to Northwestern. Maybe it's a very specific major that you can only find here and you're really excited about. Maybe it's because it's the only place that you can combine your really unique passions of theater and electrical engineering, right? Which is totally doable, and I've seen many students do. Maybe it's just purple is your favorite color and now's your time to shine, right? Whatever it is, make sure it's honest and specific, not only to you, but also to Northwestern. I shouldn't be able to copy and paste your why Northwestern essay into another school's why our school essay prompt. So honest and specific. With the why Northwestern, it's also really, really important to proofread. Every year, pretty much, we're taking a look at a why Northwestern, and the whole application is great. The student is awesome. We give to the why Northwestern, and then they tell us why they want to attend maybe University of Chicago or Vanderbilt or some other fantastic institution, but that's not Northwestern. So make sure you're taking that time, whether it's an extra couple of minutes to proofread, and make sure you're talking about the right university in your why Northwestern essay. I'll give you a hint. It's Northwestern. And last and certainly not least, the why Northwestern is kind of short. It's about 300 words. So if somebody who likes to talk and write a lot like myself, that could seem a little scary. So I usually have students think about a couple of things when writing their YNU. Think about who you are right now as a high school senior. So how do your family and friends describe you? How do your teachers describe you? What kind of leader are you? What kind of learner are you? Who are you right now? Fast forward in your mind 4 years, you're now walking across your college graduation stage. What do you want to have accomplished by then? What are you going to be on your way to doing? Who do you want to be? How does Northwestern specifically connect who you are right now to who you want to be? It's also totally fine if you're not quite sure the answer to either of those questions, right? You're 17, 18 years old. It's okay if you don't have all the answers. We just want to have an idea of the type of impact you're going to make on our campus, the type of community member that you'll be at Northwestern. So hopefully that helps answer some questions about the why Northwestern essay. I'm always happy to answer more. So if you have any questions about it, feel free to ask in the chat. You may notice on here, there is nothing about financial aid, and that's because it's its own process. So 3 important things about financial aid Northwestern. The first is that we are 100% need blind for domestic applicants. So if you're a US citizen, permanent resident, or undocumented student, and you are applying to receive financial aid to attend Northwestern, that need for financial aid will not impact your admissions decision. In addition, we meet 100% of your family's demonstrated need. So how we figure out the demonstrated need right now is with the FAFSA and my brain just went. Yes, thank you. Fill out those 2 forms. There's more on our financial aid website. I talk about this all the time, so I think my brain was just like, you don't need that information anymore. Fill those forms on our financial aid website. There's also additional information for people depending on different needs. And yes, check out financial aid website. You fill those 2 forms, and then of course we meet 100% of need, and we meet that need 100% loan free. We meet that need using scholarships, grants, no loans. All the money that we give you to attend Northwestern is money you don't have to pay us back. Something we're really, really proud of. As you can see, financial aid is very important to us as an entire institution. We get the average first year scholarship for this most recent academic year is over $50,000. I also want to highlight that financial aid, obviously, it can extend beyond just a typical financial aid, right? The beginning of COVID-19, when Northwestern realized we'd have to send students home, they were going to do classes virtually. Northwestern gave over $1 million to students to make sure everyone got home safely, to make sure everyone needed the technology they had. So that was something that I was, of course, not happy to be back home and kind of working at home during the pandemic, but also happy to hear that our students are being taken care of, even when not on campus. So All right. Again, our financial aid website has a lot more information, including an estimated net price calculator. This can give you an idea of what your family's expected family contribution might be like. So definitely check that out, start that conversation, especially for students thinking about applying an early decision next year. So as we wind down here in our presentation, please make sure you are following us on our socials. You're on our YouTube page right now. Hit subscribe, hit the bell. I feel like an influencer every time I say that. It's pretty great. Make sure you subscribe. Follow us on Instagram, on Snapchat. We're on TikTok. I know I scroll on TikTok all the time. Just add us. It's great. So thank you again for hanging out with us in the presentation part. I'm already seeing some great questions come in. So let me stop sharing my screen. Great. Awesome. Let's pull up the questions. Okay. Oh my goodness. Okay. First question that I can definitely clarify from my admissions spiel just a little bit ago. When you apply to Northwestern, you apply to a specific college and then you pick your intended major. So you apply directly to the College of Arts and Sciences, School of Education, Social Policy, etc. Like Patrick mentioned earlier, undecided is our most popular major among first-year students if it was like an official major. So you can apply undecided to 3 of our schools. You can apply undecided to our College of Arts and Sciences. You can apply undecided to our School of Engineering. You can apply undecided to School of Education and Social Policy. It is very flexible to change your mind once you're on campus. So it's okay if you're still not quite sure, even when you apply to a specific school, it's okay if you apply undecided. You have to the end of your second year to formally declare a major. So great question. Sorry to not clarify that earlier. Hey, Patrick, this is a great question for you. Does double majoring take up a lot of time? Is it difficult to manage?
I definitely had that fear when I first decided to tag on a second major to my RTVF one. Honestly, it's been the best time having to study 2 disciplines rather than just one. I think something that I was looking for was a nice mesh between quantitative study, but at the same time also being creative. And it's actually made my time at Northwestern a lot better. And I don't necessarily think that it's been any harder to manage in terms of time, right? Especially the way that Northwestern works in terms of the quarter system, a lot of these classes are going to double count for you. So say I'm in School of Communication, but I'm double majoring with a major in econ. A lot of my econ classes count towards that School of Communication degree. And so it hasn't taken up any more of my time than say just having a single major would have. And it's actually made my week a lot more interesting. So I typically choose, say, between 2 econ classes, 2 RTVF classes, or say, or any sort of mixture of those. And I'm able to sort of have that quantitative study like for half the week, but at the same time also being creative for half the week and like trying to find a nice sort of mix between the both of them. It's actually been a lot more, and actually over 70% of our students choose to study more than one discipline. So it's incredibly common at Northwestern. But there's obviously no pressure to also do a second major if you choose not to. If you really are just set on one major and you want to focus on that, there's no shame in just doing that as well. Don't feel like you have to pressure to do a second one.
Such a good point. If you want to come and you're like, I'm all in on psychology and that's it, totally cool. We've had, I think my favorite thing about the quarter system is just seeing like all the really cool, unique combinations people study. So it's like RTVF and econ is always really cool to me. We had a student that was doing theater, musical theater, and neuroscience. Oh my gosh, these cool combinations all day. So it's really great to be able, and also great to hear, Patrick, that you're able to kind of manage everything really easily and also take fun classes because that's always great. Okay, so there's a question about if admissions would be more lenient considering the hardships of the pandemic. Great question. I think, again, first of all, before we go into that, I really hope everyone watching this afternoon, tonight, you're doing the best that you can. You're staying safe, you're staying healthy, you're washing your hands, you're wearing your mask. Maybe you've been vaccinated by now, which is awesome, but I hope you're doing the best that you can. It's important to know that, yes, I read applications, but I'm also a person living through this right now too, right? I understand the world is different. Our admissions team understand that maybe you weren't able to do your sport because it was canceled this year, or you're supposed to do an internship, but unfortunately that got canceled, right? We understand everything looks a little bit different than maybe it did a year or 2 ago. So there's a couple ways you as a student kind of let us know about maybe some possible changes that were because of COVID-19 or any other sort of community disruption. One way is at the well, there's two questions. At the end of the Common or Coalition application, one's asking about community disruption. So you can kind of go into detail about if you've been impacted by COVID-19 or again, some other unfortunate event, and letting us know how and what kind of happened, however you feel comfortable. In addition, we have that additional information section at the very end of the Common application, and as well as Coalition, that has been there even prior to this current pandemic. Basically, where it's kind of, is there anything else? Is there anything else you would like to let us know that you think that's important in terms of context when looking at your application? So maybe you were really, really sick sophomore year and that impacted your grades. Let us know. Maybe there was some stuff going on at home that impacted grades your freshman year, right? Whatever it is that you feel comfortable sharing, please put that in the additional information section, because like, let's say, for example, I had mono senior year. It was not fun. I was really tired and did not feel good. So my grades my senior year were a little bit lower than they normally would because I didn't feel great. I wrote that in my Common application, the additional information section at the end. So someone like me in this role now would get the, okay, she's not feeling so great, or there's this going on at home, right? That can kind of help us, again, that further context, that bigger picture. So those are some ways. Also, if there's, email us. We're people too. So if you have questions about something on your application, how to address something, anything like that, don't be afraid to reach out to your admissions director. You can email ug-admission@northwestern.edu, which we'll definitely put in the chat multiple times tonight, as well as on our admissions homepage. You can find out who your regional rep is, find their contact information, and send them an email. Again, the most important thing is that you feel as safe and healthy as possible. So I hope that kind of answers that question, maybe calms kind of sort of the anxieties about that. Also, one more thing, your school will tell us information as well. So your school will let us know maybe what the last year has looked like at your school. Have you gone fully remote? Are you hybrid? Are you back in person wearing masks, socially distancing? That'll let us know kind of, again, that further context, that bigger picture. So thank you again for asking the question. It's a really important question. Okay. Patrick, this is a good question for you. What are some of the things that students like to do for fun during their free time at Northwestern? I know it's like a big, a big question, lots of possible answers, but.
Yeah, so in terms of, I guess the most exciting part for me has been being a part of student groups. So I mentioned Dillo Day before. Mayfest, which is a student organization within Northwestern, puts on Dillo Day. So basically, we spent the entirety of the year planning out that music festival for students at the end of June, and it was one of the most fun experiences I've ever had. You know, prior to that, you also have things like Battle of the Bands, where there's it's a restaurant within Evanston that has live music, and like bands just go up and like compete, and fans, which are Northwestern students, just like choose who they want to see perform at Dillo. And you're just planning the event the entire time by yourself. So it was like, even I was in the promotions team, and we were figuring out how do we advertise the festival to students and artists that are coming in. And it was a great learning experience, but also I bonded with people so much. But even being a part of Studio 22, I've met some of my best friends there. But some things that I also do for fun that, you know, are maybe more specific to RTBF, but also demonstrate how people take their academics to the weekends, but in a really more interesting way than just like reading a book. Being a film student, I've produced multiple films on campus, and I've spent a lot of my weekends just making films. And there I've bonded with so many people and met some of my best friends. And, you know, I think that a lot of people find through student organizations, you're able to find some of the closest people that you'll have throughout the 4 years here at Northwestern. But even besides just being on campus, like going to Chicago is actually like a common thing people do, for real. Like jumping on the train is so simple. And yeah, it's probably like I'd say like a 40-ish minute train ride if you're taking the red line. It's one, I love taking the train. You get to like kind of, if you're by yourself, you get to zone out to some music, but even if you're with some people, you get to chat with them. And Chicago is just massive. Like there's so many places. If you want to go to the beach once it gets nicer around June, or even in September, it's not even too bad still, beginning of September. And then, or even like just going anywhere in the city and just going to restaurants or going shopping somewhere. I think it's, being so close to such a major city makes for the opportunities for you to have fun kind of just endless. And, you know, that could either be with people at Northwestern or people even meet somewhere else. Like it's just, it's been an incredible experience, kind of just tossing around academics, but also having a really great time, kind of maturing at the same time, you know, not to get existential.
No, I love that. I think that's such a good point of like, you can connect with, I guess like on paper, like, yes, you're making films as academics, but it doesn't feel like it. Like, it feels like you're just like doing something you really enjoy doing. like with your friends. So I love hearing that. So we had a question about, where did it go? Oh, there it is. Some of the traits that maybe define Northwestern students. So I know, Patrick, there's no like one typical Northwestern student, but what are some ways I think you would describe some of your classmates at Northwestern?
I think I'm blown away by how everybody wants to be a leader here, but at the same time is incredibly collaborative. I mean, before I came into Northwestern, I was never surrounded by so many, not to say my high school was filled with very intelligent people, but here, Northwestern, you are having such intelligent conversations all the time, even if it's about like really, really non-intelligent things. Like, right, it could be about like celebrity gossip, and it still somehow turns into like a conversation about like how social media has transformed the world, and you're all of a sudden going into something so deep that you did not expect was going to happen. And I think that's been the best experience for me, and I think says so much about Northwestern students is that everyone here is incredibly intelligent, but also and manages to have just very intellectual but fun conversations. And as I mentioned the thing before about being a leader, yes, everybody loves to sort of take on a leadership role, but I've only been with students who have been incredibly collaborative, very, very supportive. And I usually get this question a lot as well as, is Northwestern really cutthroat as like such a top school? And I can't say it is at all. Like, I think that it has been some of the best experiences in terms of people who have wanted to help me when I've been at my worst or struggling the most, whether that's in classes or in student groups, and who just also want to see you succeed. And, now we're also rolling around to senior year where people are getting jobs, we're getting internship offers. Everybody is so happy for each other. We're just happy to see each other succeed. And that's, I think, been also one of the best experiences I've had with people here. So yeah, just to summarize that really long spiel, everyone's really smart, you have incredible conversations, and you're supported 24/7.
Totally agree. I'm a big fan of stories. Obviously, I think a lot of time what I do is just kind of talk and tell stories. I think kind of the stories I have from students just really exemplify the type of people that are on Northwestern's campus. So we have a senior counselor this year named Val. Val, one of her good friends, were actually applying for the same job. And her friend made her a cake when she got the job. Like, we've had students in our office who were working together one day. I thought it was a school project because sometimes there's some downtime in the office, people do homework. They were helping each other prepare for case studies for consulting interviews, right? These are people going for the same types of positions, internships and stuff. And it could be, you're totally right, Patrick, it could be extremely competitive, but it's not the environment Northwestern is. It truly is collaborative, which I always love to see. Makes me feel really happy to work in a place like that. Oh, Patrick, another great question for you. Do people, when they're graduating, do people find jobs only in Chicago, or can they go somewhere else?
So as you can see by this exhibit A right here, I have lived in, I'm leaving Chicago, not because I don't love the city, but it's been 22 years of being in the same place. So I'm like, it's time to get out. But I think that you can see that Northwestern students go everywhere, whether that's the world or it's the country. We have a lot of international students who choose to study here, but then say go back to their home country and want to have a career there. Or, for example, students who want to even have a profession abroad that maybe were in the United States, take the opportunity to go somewhere like the UK or somewhere in Europe, in South America, wherever they feel like their profession is going to, give them the best opportunity. But a lot of students, if you're looking maybe just to the US, a lot of film students go to either New York or LA. A lot of consulting students go to New York or LA, or stay in or go to San Francisco or to Chicago. I think that you're going to find Northwestern students really across any major cities in the country. And I think that's also the best part. It's because I'm so excited for when I graduate and I'm like, oh, I should really take a trip to LA or something. And I know for a fact somebody's going to be there. That's at least from my grade. And I cannot be like so afraid to be there alone and be like, hey, so we study it together. Like, do you want to go grab a coffee or something? And I think that's also incredible that students just really go everywhere. But and I do have to say that like there's just also still an abundant amount of opportunities in Chicago if you do want to stay here. So many people who choose to go into consulting stay in Chicago firms, or stay in or want to go in investment banking, go to firms here as well. But I know students who've been in advertising, or even film students who find like smaller companies within here that maybe this isn't like a hub for it, but they find smaller companies that they love to work for, and they stay in Chicago afterwards. And so many of my friends who had just graduated last year, I still chat with them because they live so close to me. And that's also definitely an opportunity if you want to choose that.
I've lost count of how many times I've been in an airport, like throughout the country, where Northwestern stuff, and somebody said "Go Cats" to me. I was at my parents', oh my gosh, close to a year ago now, suburban Massachusetts, a golf course kind of in the middle of nowhere. and I was wearing the Western sweatshirt, and this man from the golf course yelled, "Go Cats" to me, ran over, and we had a 15-minute conversation about on Northwestern connections. And it was like just the coolest thing. And so I think Patrick definitely hits the nail on the head. Like, no matter what kind of industry you're in or the type of place you want to live or where you want to live when you graduate, there's going to be a Northwestern connection in the Northwestern community, which is always so cool. Okay, question about certificate, difference between certificate and a minor. Great question. So a certificate is 4 to 6 classes, the minor is 6 to 9. A minor is basically a condensed version of a major. So basically like a smaller requirements for an academic field of study. And then a certificate is kind of, I define it kind of as like a skill. So we have a leadership certificate, we have our musical theater certificate, we have our civic engagement certificate. There's tons of great options, which are really cool. So I know certificates kind of unique to Northwestern, so that's why it's a little confusing. So definitely on our website, there's like an A to Z list of majors, minors, and certificates. Spend some time, check out ones that you sound interesting to you. There's often information about courses that are going on right now, information how to contact professors. So definitely do that. I always love doing it and learning more about the majors and what's going on in each of them right now. If you're interested in learning and hearing from other current Northwestern students, we have tons of different options available for you. On our admissions website, you can sign up for additional information sessions and like this. We have student panels. We also have something called Purple Preview Conversations. Purple Preview Conversations allow you to sign up and speak to somebody one-on-one who may be from a similar hometown as you, maybe has similar academic interests. We can try to connect you on basically anything you're interested in or would like. You talk for about an hour over Zoom or a phone call, and it's really great since unfortunately aren't able to have campus on right now. Anyone on campus right now, rather. Okay, again, Patrick, these are tough questions. I apologize in advance. What has been your favorite part about Northwestern? Have you had like, what's your coolest academic or even non-academic experience?
So in terms of favorite part, I don't know whether the question is referring more towards like physical favorite part of Northwestern, or maybe like, as I mentioned, how sort of the collaborative culture. I think my favorite part of Northwestern has really just been finding my best friends. I mean, like really, I think that, you know, coming into college was a struggle for me because I was a first generation student. I kind of used my freshman year to find my footing, and it took me the whole year to find my footing, which isn't, you know, just, I think, which isn't just me, but I know a lot of my friends who had, you know, kind of struggled with college in general. And then so that sophomore year when I came back, I really just found my besties for life. And it's been the best 3 years afterwards. And, you know, whether that's just kind of like laughing together, talking about serious subjects, like I mentioned before, or just like deeper conversations, or just like going on road trips. I think that I've really found some of my best friends here at Northwestern just from, you know, the sort of like us sharing the same experiences by being here at NU. But I say physical part, I love to mention this because Norris University Center, I miss it so much. Every day, I miss it so much. And I love to talk about it on these things because it's basically just like the hub of Northwestern. It's like this, it's planted in the middle, right by the Lakeville. There's a Starbucks, there's a Dunkin', there's so many restaurants to choose from. And I would just sit there and do work for hours. Like just, I mean, I would take out my laptop in the hopes that I would get something done, but everyone passes by you 24/7. You're always saying hi to somebody or just like staring off into space and people watching. Like, it's just the best thing ever. And I miss it so much. But in terms of my coolest academic or non-academic experience, I have to say I like to bring up academics because I've taken a lot of cool classes at Northwestern. And I'm actually taking one which makes me kind of like, people call me a nerd, but I think I love econ in terms of just like how theoretical it is and how cool it is. So I'm actually taking a class right now. It's called Western Economic History, and I'm reading a book, and it's called Why Nations Fail. And me and Jenna talked about this just a few hours ago, but and it's just, you know, it kind of just discusses like historically just why we are where we are today and like why things occurred, right? And I think that that's, you know, been the best thing. It's like I'm learning things about history and about how the world works that I might have not learned had I not come to Northwestern. So that's kind of been my favorite part of the academics here at Northwestern.
Thank you for sharing that. We had a student the other day who works in our office video chat in for something, and he was in Norris, like socially distanced. Obviously, they're doing the best they can, and our students have done an awesome job of kind of going along with the policies with COVID-19. But seeing him in Norris got me so excited because I also love Norris. I miss it. And it was also just like, oh my gosh, like there's people back there. Like we're doing this, like we can get back to Norris someday soon. So I was really excited to see that. I also love Norris. It's always great to people watching there for sure. Oh, this is a great question. Patrick, can you tell us kind of about the community on campus? So you kind of talked about housing and stuff before, but like, is there a lot of school spirit? I know you definitely said it's more collaborative. You found some awesome people there, which I love hearing. Kind of just a little bit more about the community.
Sure. So in terms of school spirit, I have to say I'm not the biggest football guy. I never watched football, but I went to the first game because in Wildcat Welcome, which I mentioned before, you go to your first football game of Northwestern your first week that you're there. And I think school spirit's huge. Like, obviously even before games, like everyone has a great time, and then kind of like going to the game. What I have to mention that passes to any sort of like sporting events are free for Northwestern students. So if you want to go to a basketball game, a football game, even like a lacrosse game, because I know that our women's lacrosse team is very, very successful. And you were able to check them out for free and just kind of like go with friends whenever you feel like. But I think like something that we as Northwestern students like to pride ourselves in is that we're just really, really smart. And I love it. I mean, I think that, when those News and World Report rankings come out every year, I go on my Twitter feed and it's just like, yep, top 10. And it's like, it's kind of like looking at that, like, yeah, you're kind of gloating a little bit, but it's like in the best way, right? Like we're just, I think that's how we really connect with each other in terms of like both sporting events and just like, where we pride ourselves in our academics and the performance that we've had as students. So I think the community that exists here is like really close. I think also something that a lot of people look for when they apply to colleges is the size of the university. And something that I was not too eager about going somewhere where there was a lot of people. So my sister, for example, goes to University of Michigan, 40,000+ students. That scared me so much, and I was like, I need to find something smaller. And I think that size of Northwestern is like perfect, right? I think that 8,000 students, just in undergrad alone. You walk on Sheridan, which is our main road. You can either see nobody that or you can see 50 people at a time that and I think that's the best thing, and I think. Yeah, you get a choice of sort of how hidden you want to be in the community or how much you want to know everybody, and that's something that I think is good for anybody that's entering a new environment.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I love the rest of our Big Ten counterparts, we are the only school in the Big Ten that gives all our students free tickets to every single sporting event. That includes bowl games. I got to go to Music City Bowl a couple of years ago in Nashville, Tennessee, because Northwestern was playing for free, so that was really cool. Also, shout out to our women's basketball team for making the NCAA tournament this year. Really exciting. Definitely cheer them on. I don't know when they're going to be playing next, but definitely cheer them on. I'm pumped. Okay, we are winding down a little bit here, but I want to answer this question about the quarter system. So Patrick, can you kind of tell us, like, does the quarter system feel rushed, or does it feel more reasonable? Do you feel stressed by it? How do you feel about the quarter system?
So funny enough, when I applied, I didn't know Northwestern was on the quarter system, and I found out literally the day that I stepped on the campus. But the quarter system itself is basically taking you through a calendar year. We start somewhere mid to late September, our first fall quarter, goes until beginning of December. You have a winter break that's about 3 to 4 weeks arranged in my time. And then starting off in the beginning of January, you have your winter quarter going into late March. And then starting off in April, you have your spring quarter that goes into summer, which is about mid-June. And then you have your summer quarter if you choose to take classes, and we do it all over again. Personally, I have really enjoyed the quarter system because, as I mentioned before, I really kind of got lost in what major I wanted to do. And the quarter system was the only reason that I've been able to do a double major and still finish on time, basically. I've taken a range of classes. I've explored things. I mean, I spent my entire freshman year really just exploring things that I didn't even know that I was interested in. And I think that's really due to the quarter system. And I don't think that I've been stressed or felt rushed by any means, is because you really get used to it after even that first quarter. And I think that everybody's on the same page in terms of how a quarter system works, or even like how that quarter works. So everyone knows that 2 weeks, 3 to 4, you have your first midterm, 7 to 8, you have your second midterm, and then a few weeks later, say week 10, 11, you're going to have your finals, and everyone's kind of on the same schedule, right? And I think that when you're outside of it, it might seem really stressful, but once you're in it with everybody and everyone's kind of on the same page, it just kind of becomes normal life. So I think that it's just a matter of adapting and switching into a new system that you might not be used to from high school.
Such a good point. I remember when I first came for grad school, I was talking to a student that worked in our office. I was like, oh my gosh, like this quarter system seems so stressful. How do you do it? And he was like, everyone does it. Like it's not like I'm the only one on campus doing the quarter system. Like everyone around me is doing it. You get used to it. And made another great point is that the transition from high school to college is always going to be like a little bit of it's a transition, right? Just it's a different type of course, different type of atmosphere. So there may be a little bit of challenge with that, but that would be, I think, really with anywhere you go to school, there's that initial transition and then you're like, oh my gosh, I got this, no problem. I also like to point out that our classes are designed for the quarter system. So like they're not going to teach you organic chemistry in 10 weeks. That would be too much. So there's sequence classes. So you take like Orgo 1, 2, 3, Calc 1, 2, 3. There's obviously that, so you're able to learn what you would in a semester, but a little more spread out. It also allows, again, for that academic flexibility. So if you come in and you decide, actually, you know what, engineering, this is it, I want to do engineering, you can switch into School of Engineering and take those sequence classes, which is always really great. And you don't have to worry about waiting a whole other next year to get started. So tons of benefits of the quarter system, but it's not super common. So it's always a really great question to ask. I love answering it. All right. We are just about wrapping up, but I think before we do, Patrick, you have to answer the all-important question, why Northwestern?
I like to answer this question because my why Northwestern, when I first wrote it, was so much about biomedical engineering and wanting to be a doctor. Like I had dreams of making artificial hearts and things like that. And now looking back 3 years later, I'm like, what was that? So, and I think that when I wrote it, I was in a completely different spot in life. And now 4 years into the future, I think my Northwestern statement has really changed into this school is really good at everything that it does. Like the fact that I've been able to transition out of going on a pre-med track and going into film and economics, and the school still remains one of the best schools in both of those majors, says a lot about how this is going to provide you a well-rounded education in terms of whatever you want to study. And I think that that's been the best part. But apart from that, it's again, how I mentioned before, I'm surrounded by incredibly intellectual people who love to have great conversations about topics that I might have not also been introduced to in my high school years. And so I think it's really transitioned from being a lot about the academics to just being about this place has allowed for me to mature in the last couple of years to then be prepared for the scary world ahead.
It's not that scary, I promise. But I totally agree that people really make Northwestern what it is. So I miss being on campus, being able to be surrounded by so many awesome students who are passionate about so many things and support each other in those passions. So even if you aren't 100% sure what your roommate's presentation is about, the research symposium, you're going to go and support them. Even if you have 2 left feet, you're going to go to your friend's dance performance, right? It's a really just supportive place. So totally agree. All right. Kind of winding down on time here. Thank you all again so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Again, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also go on our admissions website to sign up for additional programming, as well as our email list if you're not on that yet. Also, make sure to follow us on other socials. Again, my other things influencers say. Thank you again so much. We really appreciate you taking time to hang out with us this evening. Stay safe, stay healthy, go Cats. Bye, y'all.